After today's video, I'm pretty sure I'll get some haters, so please subscribe before you proceed. Today we're attempting scones. Here are our future additions to them: raspberry and strawberry jams, along with some clotted cream. Eating scones is one of those divisive things. Some people swear by jam first, then cream, which is Cornish style, while others insist on cream first and then jam, which is Devon style. Stick around till the end of the video to find out which side I am on. This recipe is from another episode of the Great British Bake Off, a technical challenge from Paul Hollywood, and the link to the recipe is in the description. So let's get started. First, preheat the oven to 425F or 220C. We'll need 450 grams of all-purpose flour and plus grab a little bit more for rolling out the dough later. Then take 80 grams of unsalted butter, 80 grams of sugar, 2 large eggs, and take one more for later again, 5 teaspoons of baking powder, it does sound like a lot, but trust the process, and 250 grams of cold milk. Now let's take a large bowl and add 400 grams of flour and the butter. Next, rub the flour and butter together with your fingers. The goal is to create a breadcrumb-like mixture. This part is always tricky for me because my hands are really warm, so make sure you work fast. After that, add the sugar, baking powder, eggs, and gently mix with a wooden spoon. You want to make sure you incorporate all the ingredients, so make sure you scrape all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. Now let's add half of the milk and gently mix again, and gradually add the remaining milk until you form a very soft, maybe even a little bit wet dough. Remember, you might not need all the milk. Now grab a silicone mat or just use your work surface and sprinkle most of the remaining flour onto it. Then tip the soft dough onto the surface or the mat and sprinkle the rest of the flour on top. Your mixture will be quite wet and sticky at this point. Then fold the dough in half with your hands, turn it 90 degrees, and repeat. This folding and turning process, called chaffing, helps to incorporate the remaining flour and add some air to the dough, making it fluffier. If at some point the dough becomes too sticky, just use some extra flour to coat the dough or your hands. But just be careful not to overwork it. Now let's roll out the dough. First, sprinkle some flour onto the work surface and top of the dough as well, and then grab a rolling pin to roll up and down from the middle of the dough. Next, turn the dough 90 degrees and continue rolling until it's about 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch thick. You can relax the dough a little bit by lifting the edges and letting it drop back onto the mat. Now grab a pastry cutter and cut out rounds from the dough and place them on the baking tray. I put some parchment paper, you can also grease it, both work. Don't forget to dip the edge of the pastry cutter in some flour to make it easier to cut without sticking. And make sure you don't twist the cutter, just press firmly, lift, and push the dough out. Twisting the cutter will cause the sides stick and not let it rise properly. Once you've cut all the possible scones, rework and re-roll the dough to cut out the remaining scones. Any leftover dough can be rolled, but just remember that those scones won't be as fluffy. Next, place the scones on the baking tray and let them rest for a few minutes to allow the baking powder to start working. Mix 1 egg with a pinch of salt and then use a pastry brush to glaze or egg wash the scones. Be careful to keep the glaze on top of the scones. If it runs down the sides, they will not rise evenly. Bake the scones in the middle of the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're risen and golden brown. Mine here took around 20 minutes. The result looks pretty good, although as you can see my scones are a bit uneven. There are 2 main reasons for this. Some were cut from uneven dough, so make sure to roll your dough evenly. And also I did touch the sides of some cut out scones, causing the layers to stick together and not puff up properly. But that's okay, lesson learned for the next time. This is how they looked on the recipe page, and this is a picture from the show itself. So that's the winner of the challenge. Now let's leave the scones to cool and come back for tasting. So here I have 2 jams, raspberry and strawberry, as well as clotted cream. The scones are really soft and can be easily split in half with your fingers, or you can use a knife. I'll add some cream first, sorry Cornwell, and then top it with some jam. Now that I'm looking at the video, I realize that I've made a big mistake by not having some tea with the scones right now. They can be an amazing breakfast or a traditional option for an afternoon tea. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the result. I just need to fix the unevenness next time and we'll be ready to present these to Paul. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.